Hey guys, it's Miss Delcambre. Today is October 26th, and here's a rundown of our day. So you'll need your journal, pencil, a highlighter, and 7.2 rates classwork worksheet. It's in your Google Classroom. I'll show you where that is. So here quickly is our weekend review. Let me get to Bitmoji Classroom. So this week we're going to be working on ratios and rates. Thursday we have our review, and then Friday we have our test. Okay, so here's a quick rundown. Okay, and what I also did is I made a link. So if you ever go, when you go to my Bitmoji Classroom, once it loads, it's still loading. It's still loading. If you click on the screen, it should take you directly, looky there, to the week. So we have our rates today that we're going to continue, and then using our rates and ratios to solve problems. That's going to be a 2-day activity. Your study guide, is supposed to be sent out on Wednesday. So it will be dropped on Wednesday. I'm sorry, that's a Tuesday. I don't know why I said Wednesday. And then you need to make sure it's completed by Wednesday for Thursday, because we're going to do a Kahoot and a GIM kit. And then you have Friday is your test. You'll have your Unit 5 test, which is a Module 7, which will be all of Module 7. It's about 16 questions, okay? So it's less than what we're normally used to. So that means more points per question. So if you miss a question, your score normally will be much lower than what it would be on a 20 question test. Okay, so that's our week in review. Let's go to Builder 9. So I made an oops. Thank you to my middle block that saw my oops. So if you go to your classwork, for some reason on Builder 9, I included Builder 8. Don't know how that happened. I guess I clicked it too fast. So to complete Builder 9, ignore Builder 8. So there's Builder 9. I posted it. And we're going to go ahead and look over it. So let me pull up our builder. So here we go. Now there are a couple new things that are on this builder than the other builder. So the first thing that you want to look at is we have dividing integers. Dividing integers, then multiplying. We were doing multiplying for a while. Now we're doing division. The integer rule still stays the same. Okay. We have our computation, which we are dividing, subtracting fractions, adding fractions, multiplying, and then going to a fraction to a decimal. All right. Then we have our prime factorization. And we just got done taking this, guys. So basically, you're going to do a factor tree. Here's our example. 12 is broken down into 2 times 6. 2 is prime, so you're going to circle that. 6 is broken down into 2 times 3. You're going to circle that. Expanded form is 2 times 2 times 3. Exponential form is 2 squared times 3. So if I look at number 8, 8 can be broken down into 4 times 2. 2 is prime, so I'm going to circle that. I break 4 down into 2 times 2. I circle those. Then I have 2 times 2 times 2, which is equal to 2 cubed, which is equal to 2 cubed. Here's your one order of operation question that they're going to give you. Then you have your vocabulary. All this was from last Builder 8, the same words. You have your evaluate your expression, but you also have your CF and GF, so common factors and greatest common factors. So your next builder, Builder 10, you will have one like this as well. This is an example of what you are to do. So on our next builder, you're going to set it up like this, because this is our example that's given. So you're going to give the factors that make up 10, 1 and 10, 2 and 5. Give the factors that make up 12, 1 and 12, 2 and 6, and 3 and 4. You're going to circle your common factors. So they are 1 and 2. And the largest one, the greatest common factor, is 2. So that's how those will be done. We're going to be working on those next on Builder 10. So you'll be filling one out on Builder 10. Not this week. This is just an example. All right, on our multiple representation part. All right, do you see our process is a two-step process now? We were used to doing one-step processes. Now we have two-step. So two-step. So we're going to first fill in our process section. So y equals 2 times x, which is 0, close parentheses, plus 1. Okay, and I'm going to fill in the rest, just complete the rest of this box. So y equals 2 times 1 plus 1. 1 was there, 1 goes there. Y equals 2 times 2 plus 1. 2 is there, 2 is there. And y equals 2 times 3 plus 1. 3 is an x, goes right there. So then I still follow order of operations. I'm going to multiply, then add. So 2 times 0 gives me 0, plus 1 is 1. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 gives me 3. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 gives me 7. Okay, so then I'm going to make my ordered pairs over here. So I have 0, 1, 1, 3, 2, 5, and 3, 7. Then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to plot my points. So 0, 1, go over 1, up 3, go over 2, up 5, go over 3, up 7. So once I get my dots in a nice and neat on my graph, I take my straight edge. If you're doing this on Cami, you're going to take your line tool and you're going to draw to connect, and then I'm going to add my arrows to the end there. Add my arrows to the end. Okay, so on the back we did questions of the day. So our question of the day, we're going to be doing adding and subtracting integers. We're going to be doing those reviews. So I have -6 minus 2 and -10 plus a -12. Okay, so -6 minus 2. I'm going to grab my number line just to show you. So I always start at the first number. So I'm at -6. So -6 is right here. Minus 2. So I'm going to take 2 away. So I got to go 2 left, which I end up at -8. You can also think of this as -6 plus a -2. -6 plus a -2. So visualize, we have 6 red counters plus 2 2 red counters gives me a total of 8 red counters. Okay. So here's our next one. We have -10 plus a -12. Well, they're the same signs. So I'm going to add them and keep the sign. I've got lots of people, which will give me -22. Lots of people who said, oh, well, it's going to give me a positive 22 because I have the same sign. No, think of this like the counters. I have 10 red counters and 12 red counters. So I would have 22 counters. They would be red, so they would be a negative. Okay? Now, what I want you to do next is I want you to grab your What's Your Rate worksheet. Okay, so go ahead and make sure you have that out. And we're going to set up rate tables and ratio tables, kind of like what we did last week. And you need your highlighter. All right. So the question is, there are 117 players on 9 teams. How many players are on one team? So what are we looking at? We're comparing, because rate is a comparison of two things, or is a comparison of different quantities. And we're looking at players and we're looking at teams. So in words, that is what we're looking at. So I'm looking at players and I'm looking at teams. So I'm kind of thinking this as like an equivalent ratios or equivalent fractions. I'm going to show you another way to do it on the next one. They both are show the exact same steps. It's just a different way to write it. So I'm going to look again and see what kind of information I have with players. Well, here says I have 117 players. So that 117 is going to go on top because it goes with players. And I have 9 teams, so 9 is going to go on the bottom because it goes with teams. Now, how many players are on one team? Well, I know that this is one team. Team's at the bottom, so I'm going to put a 1 down here. All right, now I've got to figure out what this number is going to be. Well, I could go from 9 to 1 by dividing. Remember, rates is a comparison by division. So I'm finding the unit rate, which is 1, so I divide by 9 to get 1. If I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top, divide it by 9. So I don't know that right offhand. 117 divided by 9. 9 can go into 11 one time, leaving me with 2. Bring down my 7. 9 can go into 27 3 times. So my answer would be 13. So there's 13 players for one team. 13 players for one team. Okay, let's go to our next one. So there are 56 questions on 4 quizzes. How many questions are on one quiz? So I'm comparing 2 things. Remember, I'm comparing questions and quizzes. So this is just, I wrote it this way. I'm going to show you another way you can set it up. I'm looking at questions and quizzes. All right. Now, what do I know about questions and quizzes? Just like I asked myself up here, well, there's 56 questions on 4 quizzes. So there's 56 questions on 4 quizzes. 4 represents quizzes, 4 is down here, 56 represents questions, questions is up here. Now, I need to get to 1 quiz. So I have 3 pieces of information and I'm missing 1. So how can I go from 4 to 1? Well, I can divide by 4. So if I divide it by 4 on the bottom, I divide by 4 at the top, and 56 divided by 4, 4 can go into 5 one time. With 1 left over, bring down my 6. 4 can go into 16 4 times, which gives me 16 exactly. So my answer would be 14. There's 14 questions for 1 quiz. 14 questions for 1 quiz, and the ratio still stays the same. Okay? Looking at my next one, number 3. You can travel 84 miles in 2 hours. How far did you travel in 1 hour? Again, words, what are we comparing? Well, we're looking at miles and hours. So I'm going to make my table here. I'm looking at miles and hours. What do I know about miles and hours? Well, there's 84 miles in 2 hours. I need to figure out what 1 hour is. So there's 84 miles, 2 hours. I've got to figure out what 1 hour is going to be. So we set up our words, what we know. We got to figure out what we don't know, and we've got to figure out kind of like a rule here. What did we do? So how do I go from 2 to 1? I divide by 2. So if I divided by 2 on the bottom, I must divide by 2 on the top. And 2 can go into 8 4 times. And 2 can go into 4 2 times. So we can think of this answer is you went 42 miles per hour. MPH is miles per hour. Okay, let's look at our next one. It takes you 60 minutes to read 15 pages. How long will it take you to read 1 page? Again, we're setting it up. I'm going to set it up just like I did the first one so you can see. Either way will work. All right, so I'm comparing minutes in pages. So I'm going to highlight it and then I'm going to write it down. All right, what do I know about minutes and pages? Well, I know that it took 60 minutes for 15 pages. So 60 minutes for 15 pages. And I need to figure out what one page is going to be. So I've got it. This is what I'm missing. So I can go from 15 to 1 by dividing by 15. If I divide by 15 to the bottom, I must divide by 15 to the top. Okay. And 60 divided by 15, well, 5 times 4 gives me 20. 4 times 1 gives me 4, plus 2 gives me 6. So exactly 4 minutes. So 4 minutes per page is what the rate of reading is. Okay, I want to express how important it is for you to set up the problems. Even though you can do it in your head now, things are going to get more complicated, more advanced. I want you to make sure you set things up with words. Just that extra 5 seconds to set it up with words, what you know and what you don't know, can be so beneficial to you. Take that time, just that extra 5 to 10 seconds to set things up. All right, let's look at number 5 here. If the rate is 60 pages in one notebook, how many pages would be in 8 notebooks? So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to make my table. Draw a line here, there's my table. So what am I comparing? Oh, I'm talking about pages and notebooks. So we have pages and notebooks. Okay, what do I know? Well, there's 60 pages in one notebook. How many would be in 8 notebooks? So this is what I know. I need to know 8 notebooks. So what would that be? So how do I go from 1 to 8? I multiply by 8. So I multiply by 8 to the bottom, must multiply by 8 to the top. And 8 times 60 gives me 480. So there would be 480 pages. Pages in 8 notebooks. So if we took this, we would say our notebooks, and the rule is to times it by 60, because no matter how many notebooks we have to times it by 60, and that equals my pages. Okay? All right, if we look at our next one, if the rate is 12 inches to 1 foot, this is a rule. We could actually not say that. The rule is 12 inches is 1 foot. How many inches are in 7 feet? So this is our measurement. This helps us with our measurement conversion coming up in Module 8. So we are comparing 2 things. Comparing inches and foot or feet. So I'm going to put inches in feet. And there is a rule. It says the rate. So the rule is that you have 12 inches is 1 foot. Okay? But I need to figure out how many inches are in 7 feet. Okay? So I go from 1 to 7 by multiplying by 7, and 12 times 7 gives me 84. So there's 84 inches in 7 feet. So my rule is to find my feet. I don't like how this is set up, so I'm going to just rewrite this. So to take my inches, to find my inches, I need to take my amount of feet and times it by 12. You can also figure out your feet, the amount of feet you have, if you have your inches, and do the inverse operation of multiplication, which is division, and divide by 12. All right. So let's go to our next page there. Or flip it over to question number 7. So if the rate, and this isn't a rate, this is a rule. So the rule is 365 days in 1 year. How many days are there in 4 years? So we're comparing days and years. Okay, I'm going to set my table up real quick. Days and years. And I know that there's 365 days in 1 year. Well, how many would there be in 4 years? So I go from 1 to 4 by multiplying by 4. And 365 times 4. Well, I'm going to come over here and do my math. 365 times 4. 4 times 5 gives me 20. Drop a 0, carry a 2. 4 times 6 is 24. 25, 26. Carry a 2. 4 times 3 is 12. Plus 2 is 14. So we have 1,460 days in 4 years. So to figure that out, we take the amount of years we have, multiply it by 365 equals the amount of days you have. Okay. All right. So 8, 9, 10, 11. I want you to go ahead and make sure you're doing. Also, stop right here. I want to look at number 12. I'm going to set up number 12, but I need for you to look at it. So if you pay $5 for 10 pens, how much will you pay for 1 pen? So we're comparing what you pay, money, and pens. So the amount of money and pens. I know I paid $5 for 10 pens, but you need to know what 1 pen would be. You need to know what 1 pen is going to be. So you're going to set it up like this. You want to know what 1 pen, not $1, not $1. I mean, don't tell me how many pens you will get for $1. Tell me how much it's going to cost. How much is 1 pen? Okay? So go ahead and start working on this. And tomorrow we're going to kind of start more on this, but more in detail on some word problems. So stay tuned, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.